an old lady's boat. You don't need it then, my sweet.
Yes, is that what it is?
Tracy Emin said, I refuse to wear a fringe. I'm just going to say, motherfucker. I'm hiding.
You know, 10 minutes later, that's comprehended cloud.
Listen to the sun just...
The sign that actually streamed, I thought that was perfect.
I mean, I think that somebody said that to me because I've done it a few times with different audiences and somebody did you choose?
Yeah. That's fantastic. I just smiled to myself.
Yeah.
You've got your song history. Did you see the eclipse this morning?
Do you know, I went outside and I didn't see it.
It's just very low in the sky, apparently.
I saw it.
You're quite handy.
I went into the back garden and went across the road. I couldn't see it anywhere.
I was up at about 7:15 and it had just started eating me and watched it go over. It was just brilliant. And then it started to sink. It's
It's a good nice start.
There it is.
Well done, that's very strong.
Thank you.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm not saying anything.
Oh, okay, alright, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, see you later. See you later.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good to see you.
Good luck, David. Enjoy the halls.
Absolutely. And yourselves.
Anything exciting from you?
I'm not sure what the students are doing. It's just...
Yeah.
That's
I know.
it's not as big really.
I know, I understand. It probably goes against your natural instinct
Yeah.
to say something. I know.
Okay, I'm just gathering these up.
Okay, thanks, Susan.
Bye.
I'll take that from you.
Alright.
David, do you want to talk about
Thanks. I just want to settle down, so I was just getting into oral feedback as well.
I'm sorry for shouting.
Well done.
Thank you.
You really give me the shakes, Rich. I thought I was going to get slapped in the face. Very good. Sure, Johnny would like it.
Okay, yeah, I know. He was talking about you trying to get out to see it, but I don't think it was sort of... Is that everybody then? It was Mike. It was Mike. Is there the other one?
No, like that.
Just see.
English isn't my first language, give me a break. Just keep my head there. Oh, no, I'll keep an eye on this stuff. I'm not cheating. I'm not doing that by the way.
Did Karen not make it then? I don't know.
Just got something, was trying to get it this morning, just changed it from the here, just got something.
I knew she would definitely have been here. She could have been.
Yeah.
I'm glad you could make it. Take a seat anywhere, Mike. Come in here. Come and sit. In here.
Goodbye. So close to Christmas.
Well, thank you so much for coming, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And it's just a really little informal post-show chat, really. Just anything that you wanted to ask me or anything that you wanted to say, really.
Just thought it was very powerful, and I wanted to ask, to me it felt like a patchwork, and sort of impressionistic. That's how you built up your information and just decided to...
Yeah, more or less. It was, specifically not supposed to follow a linear narrative, but I do know, and I really wanted it to be quite open to individual interpretation, But obviously there were certain things that I was trying to convey as well. But yeah, it wasn't. It was like supposed to be collage. Yes.
I'm glad I saw it, and this is the way you did it, and it is really quite amazing because I saw your first session in there, and you were thrown in the deep end and had to be in a visit's room, and you were confronted with a prisoner who didn't know what was going on, and you did that improvisation, which was very powerful. Now, Johnny's words later on, in that Finbar thing,
Yeah.
but that first impression has obviously carried itself all the way through here to be, the roots of this particular one.
Yeah.
Really quite powerful, and I've seen that journey all the way through.
Yeah.
And so I was amazed that you kept on going back to it. So it's obviously something that's
Yeah.
buried itself in you in order
Yeah.
to bring it out. And you asked us out there, so this is the question, you give us the 5 things that impressions.
Uh,
That must be so raw in you still, you know, that first impression of going in there at that stage, you know. So what are they? What are you left with now? How do you exorcise this?
Well, I mean, for me, really, that was like a hook to hang things on, was the first visit. That for me was like a hook to try to hang the rest of my experiences of the whole process. So I feel quite exercised, you know. Yeah, I do. I mean, I feel as if what I'm trying to convey really with the piece is to do with just the different nuances and different experiences that I had, that the prisoners may have had, you know, throughout the experience of the project of Pipe Dreams, really. And that speech that I kept, you know, reiterating, the Fincore speech, to me as well was like a vehicle for different kinds of expression, really, as well.
Can I ask about the process then, from start to this? How did this piece evolve to?
Well, it was always going to be a performance, because that has been my aim. Obviously, with doing practices research, I was always going to do a performance, but I wasn't at all sure about what kind of form it was going to take. But it became clear to me that I wanted it to be sort of quite abstract, impressionistic, postmodern, not a story as such. And really, it's just been through a process of collecting data. So every time I would go to visit at the prison, I would write a journal, and I was being the present tense journal, which is what I read out at the start. I am driving to McGavran prison, I am this. Because to me then, when I read back over it, I'm very present to it, because it's in the present tense. So just a lot of journal keeping. So then I just extricated bits from that, and obviously, you know, the bits that have stuck out in my mind most have gone into this. And I just try to employ different devising techniques, you know, a bit of frantic assembly, a bit of different techniques that I've experienced with, so a bit of physical stuff, you know, to try. I didn't want there to be too much dialogue, really. You know, I wanted it to be, and I'm concerned in with the thesis with how different things can affect people, how can make you feel. So I wanted to try to evoke different feelings and sensations, you know, as much as anything else.
Can I ask, have any of you seen Pipe Dreams itself, the actual performance that the guys did? Yeah, quite lucky then that I'm one of the few who's actually seen what the prisoners produced. And the prisoners produced the story, if you like, of two guys sitting in a cell and talking to each other about their lives and so on, and trying to stop the habit of a lifetime of smoking cannabis or whatever. I'm assuming that Alan designed it that there would be a number of endings that the guys would sort of portray. So in the actual performance, there was sort of isolation, there was guys sitting in the cell, there was inconsistencies, there was all sorts of things, there was doubts about the way they treated their families and all the rest of it. And you know, in the end, there was a number of decisions that they had to make about whether they were going to actually give up smoking weed or whatever, or try to turn their lives around. So knowing that beforehand gave me a sort of an understanding, I think probably more than the other, about what you were doing as you went through it. However, it was still very, very powerful, and it was still, you know, made me think. And certainly whenever you were speaking directly to me, I really did think you were going to come over and give me a slap.
I mean, the reason,
But, you know, the character that you played, the female character that you played there, the guys talked about in the cell, you know, they talked about this chap's wife and the different different things that he had done to her, you know, and the ways he had hurt her and all that sort of stuff. So for me, it wasn't as abstract as
Yeah.
it probably was for
Mm.
you,
Yeah.
you know, because I sort of was able to fill in the background quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's.
I think what's intriguing though is I think that there are certain times and certain experiences, wherever you go, there are a talismanic word or phrase, and there's something that just roots you and brings you, is the kickstart for a project, or the words that you keep ferreting around it, and I felt that with what you were doing. Yeah, it was interesting, because I don't know anything about the projects coming to this, but the feeling and the emotions that evoked, and I think the sense of place was still very, very strong, even though what it could have felt very
Yeah.
abstract. And I thought, I
Mm.
particularly like the kettle work.
Yeah.
Yes, that was excellent. Yes, I mean, again, just that summed up to me, an idea, if you like, of prison,
Mm.
of just same old, same old, same old, here I am, all the time in the world, I will, and that, there were
Good, yeah.
beautiful moments, I think, and they were just beautifully evoked,
For me, when you were standing down here and you were talking and you were trying to
Yeah.
say it, I was trying to work out whether you were the wife at that stage or whether you were the actual prisoner. But because I could see Johnny quite that, very, very indecisive. I mean, despite the fact that he's an extremely intelligent guy, but I mean, quite often I sit and talk to him for half an hour at a time, trying to get him to take one little step. So I was sitting thinking to myself, is this the wife talking, or is this Johnny talking, or whatever? And I wasn't sure then, and we went over and looked out the window, and in the end, it was the prisoner, I'm sure. It wasn't the wife. So I gathered that from the stress or whatever, and because what you said reminded me of Johnny, and just to let the rest of you know, that was Johnny's voice at the very end. That was him actually saying that.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, for those of you that aren't familiar with the project, I mean, what kind of sense did you get of what did you get? What did you think it was? I mean, what was it about? Like, what were the overarching senses or feelings that you got from it? Any of you?
I don't know the background to it, but I know prisons, and I very much, it captured that well, the prison experience, the inside and out, and the kind of, both for the visitor and the person inside, and it captured that kind of incapturable feeling to me. So I appreciated that aspect of what I was trying to say.
Okay.
There was just something that struck me about it was there was a lot of construction in it. There was a lot of I wouldn't say slick, but it was very carefully pieced together and patched together, and the pace of it, the rhythms in it, I thought were very complex for something which was very straightforward in some ways, but I thought it was very complex at that level. Difficult to respond to that. So you pointed out that you wanted to have something which was impressionistic, something that conveyed your impressions of an experience, which was probably a very complex experience, which took a lot out of you, asked for a lot, surprised you, and so forth. So to say, you had a question in the questionnaire about where did it feel in your heart or your stomach. I spent time, as I would with something like this, trying to figure out what the root of any sort of action might be. For example, watching the kettle boil, again, I love that. But that when you see that, that's a metaphor for a lot of different things.
Oh yeah.
Similarly, letting the light in, again, I had climbing on the table, trying to respond to it impressionistically is a difficult thing, I think. Respond to it, sort of try to respond to it intellectually, like figure out what it means.
Well, of course,
That's the
yeah.
thing. But again, that's maybe part of what this is as well, because this is part of the experience of life, but it's also particularly, I think, part of the experience of being in jail. It's giving up on thinking about it. It's
part of it, but also you have to make sense, some form of sense. So I don't know, there's a number of different levels in it that I find very engaging, very interesting. Yeah.
Did you get a sense from watching it what it might have been like for the prisoners in having an experience like with applied drama, or somebody coming in to do drama with them? Did you get a sense of how the drama may have affected them in any way, or sort of, how that interaction may be?
My sense of it would be that just from what I saw was that was about structure. It was about structure and experiences which maybe are open-ended or loose or unclear and all that. You talk to the guy and it takes him half an hour to come to a decision, for example. Because it's possible to be a jail too. You can't take the time and then continue a conversation a week later, something like that. So I think for me this would have been about structuring things that are difficult to put a name to. That's sort of what I would imagine maybe the theatre process was about for the guys.
I like it because in it, I take Peter's point there, I have a notion that, we look at people who can't make sense of this time on their own. I mean, 7% below literacy is stage 1. So we have to in some way get them up to speed first before they know why they're in there, and do this rehabilitation thing or think about what they're doing when they come out. And drama theatre at this particular point allows that change to be confronted so many different ways in a sort of like a social transfiguration kind of pot, if you like, in that. And this is what was doing, and this came out in this piece, which is nice. Right?
That it was.
Yeah, that there was a lot of confronting issues,
Yeah.
from the Johnny one all the way through to, at that particular stage of a life sentence prisoner, for a wife to come in and sort of say,
Yeah.
"Oh, fuck you," that was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's survived, he's got to this stage, all that, and then he's got this one, when most of them get rid of the relationship so they can get on doing and survive themselves, and then be confronted at this stage. Jesus, I'd forgotten about all that. That helps to refocus.
Yeah.
Did you find when you were doing the work with the jail that the guys preferred to talk about stuff rather than do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was a lot of the motifs that I used, like the kettle and the rolling of the cigarettes, and even the business with the CD player was a lot of what the guys like to do, much more than the action, the play. I mean, as I was a professional practitioner who used to go in and go, right, come on, no. I mean, they wanted to just sit and have smoke and talk and make cups of coffee, and there was such a ritual. Because you would go in and the ritual very much involved boiling the kettle and, asking me, it was a lot of care taken over my cup of coffee, and here it is, and then let's sit down and let's talk. And it took me quite a while to get into that kind of frame of mind, where actually that was as much, that had probably as much of the benefit to them as the actual play did. Was there anything that didn't work for you then, in terms of just generally speaking? Okay, thank you, Mike. Okay. This eventually needs to...
Can I ask you a question? I'm just sort of sitting here thinking about the guy who brought us down.
Yes.
Who is that guy? Did you set him up to bring us there? Because he did make us feel like prisoners.
This was part of the panel, maybe.
Was that part of it?
Yeah, well, it's very much so, yeah.
Because, we were all standing wondering, what is this guy doing to us here? And it was brilliant. It really was brilliant.
Yeah.
Because it did definitely make us feel, we're being given orders by this guy. And most of us didn't like it. Didn't like it. But I've seen prisoners being treated exactly the same way.
Yeah.
So that gave me a real insight.
Yeah.
And that was before we even met you.
Well, that's what I wanted to do, was to create this experience, this atmosphere, this kind of feeling on the way right down to the environmental
So
theatre.
tunnels and doors as well. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that thing to do with the stand, then he disappears off, leaves you standing.
Which is exactly what happens when you're.
That's what I was saying. I thought the thing was very well structured, very well constructed. Those things were very methodical.
Yeah.
Do you know how prisoners are meant to feel, Jeff? I always feel like I was a visitor.
No,
very hard to answer a question like that.
Yeah.
I think it all worked.
Yeah.
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 What do you
Yeah.
say?
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody, I was just answering to the questionnaires there, and somebody said that the moment of joy wasn't earned in a strange way. Was that you? Yeah, I thought that might be. Because I thought that was, no, but I thought that was very directors inside, you know, and I think that's a really interesting challenge, you know, because we've been thinking about issues of psychological gesture in the abstract sense, but it's something certainly to reflect on, you know, how do you...
Yeah, and I think as well when you do, it's like as for a performer as well, you know, when you do, there's certain moments when you can engage more, because when I first did that, I really felt it a lot and I didn't feel it as much this time, but I did the last time I did it and I probably would do it again, you know, but it maybe wasn't, maybe that was
That's
something.
a complex thing you're getting into there as well, just in
Yeah.
terms of how you modulate that sense of joy.
Yeah.
To
It's
maybe
also,
encapsulate what's made it happen.
Yeah.
I think beyond that, sorry to snap, it's a technical, it's an
Yeah.
acting performance thing
Yeah.
that comes out of a different realm.
Yes.
And how you can't bring that up from
Sometimes,
nowhere.
yeah.
You know, it's come, that's
Yeah.
something else working. But which, funnily enough, led me on to thinking about, again, the displacement, heavy, big time displacement activity of prisoners. You know, the ritual that's going on. Flip, Duke but forever and a day. But theatre can be, or performance can be so frightening because it's not heart, you know, it's not mind, it's heart, it's visceral. And again, making this, you know, the space safe for people to express what
Yeah.
they're doing and where things tip over from acting, in inverted commas, into, you know,
Yeah.
bloodletting, if you
Yeah.
like, and being very, very careful of the people that you're working, and I suppose confronting all of that. And I, you know, that's just an aside. I mean, I felt that what this did work very, very powerfully for me. I like the fact that we were, you know, you were amidst us. We were part and parcel of it. Maybe humour or black humour is the thing, but then everything else felt very true. You know, I think as a piece it worked extremely well. I also liked, and it's more of an, you know, the towards the end, what I took was a prisoner who couldn't get the words out, had learned something from a drama technique. You know, that was again just a lovely thing. If for no other reason, they'd rehearsed something, they'd thought about new formulas, new rituals, new ways of expression.
Yeah.
I thought that was very helpful.
Yeah, good. Well, that's exactly what I wanted to convey with that, very much so.
Alan, I'm going to have to take Jennifer's plane now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.